Hello there, it's Stacy with Quantum Artistic. I'm going to do some, this is actually a prequel to a creation video that I'm going to do. I wanted to describe what happened and how I do some things. And then over the course of the next couple of days, I'm going to film myself creating a replacement monogram. So let me go ahead and start so you don't get impatient. This again is patrons only. As you all may have seen, the other day I was posting images of a really big 11 by 14 monogram that I made, that I was making, and it has a bunch of roses as symbols, and I had almost gotten it finished. I literally had to fill in some of the rocket, and I had to put greenery on. And I have an issue with obsessive compulsive disorder where I keep, oh, excuse my language, you may hear the F word on my videos. For those of you who are offended, I apologize, but I guess that I have to be myself. So anyways, I kept messing up, and I keep messing with things, and I obsessively messed with something to try to make it look like I wanted it to, and then I couldn't get it to, so I frigged with it some more, and then it ended up being that I was like, well, I guess I've screwed that all up, and there's no way to fill this in, so I'll just cut the whole thing off the background, like I did here. It's not completed, it's just a very rough cut. I do this very frequently, so it wasn't anything that I haven't done before. I've done this on a lot of my pieces. But the difference here is that once you cut away certain parts, like here, you've got this cutout of the rose, and that was not going to work. What I probably could have done is cut this rose off entirely and then remade it, and that may have been the best thing to do, and then try to deconstruct this portion. But it just got to be too much, and I have so many layers of paper here, and it's so rigid, and there's just so much work involved. I was just like, whatever. So this is gonna go on the burn pile for this weekend, and there we go. That's what happens to a small portion of my pieces. So I have a deadline to get this monogram done. I'm gonna flip this board around here. I am giving you this insider information because you're part of my Patreon. I have shifted from being I've shifted into creator mode. I've for many years I've resisted that. I wanted to have a unique niche in the art world, and I realized that there's just no sense in resisting anymore. So I'm fully into creator mode, which means I'm going to share with you all of my innermost secrets, my tips, my tricks, if you are a patron. And there may be some that I hold out for a higher tier later on, but for my basic Cricut type stuff where I do these kind of more generic things, I see no reason with not showing you exactly how I do it. So what you're seeing here is a pile of stuff that I've cut out with my Cricut. I will eventually do some design videos with you to show you how I do my design in Inkscape, Illustrator, and Cricut Design Space, because I know that some of you have asked, and it's relatively simple. You just need to practice. So here are some of the letters that I have created, and the reason those are upside down. The reason I create extras is because sometimes if you get like a flaw on it, like for example, my dog might go by where I'm working when I'm out in the kitchen, and he might slat his head and get like a drool booger or something on it. Or every once in a while, if I'm creating, I don't know how it happens, but I think like a bug might land on it, and then you get this little funny spot. And sometimes just at random, you don't even know what happens. You just walk back to whatever you've been working on, and you're like 25, 30 hours into it, and you see a dot, and you're like, well, where did the dot come from? So I print extra, or I cut extra of these, because it allows me to lay it down afterwards in case there's a bibbo. And I like to do it ahead of time so I have them ready, and I don't have to mess around with pulling the file up and cutting again. So that's what those are. The monogram that I was doing was a B and a T. These parts right here, I wonder what that is. Did I forget to glue that on? No, I didn't. These parts right here are part of the rocket, which I will show you in a second. So this is the cutout version of the monogram. let's go over all of the how I did it, and or verbally and not visually. Um, for roses, because I've literally only made one other rose the entire time that I've ever quilled, and I know it's a simple process. You just have to kind of build outwards. I like to have a little bit of a guideline to work with. So what I do, let me go ahead and it may get wobbly here, but I'm going to go ahead and zoom down so you can see what I'm talking about. Whoopsie. See this right here? So I have just a generic rose, and I kind of make them kind of go off all different directions so they're not the same direction all the time. And I use the Cricut to go in and just to print off some guidelines on them. And I just use it as a basis for the structure of the main petals of the rose. And they all get hidden. They all disappear. And it's mainly because I really haven't tried a whole lot of freehand roses, and this is just an easy way to do it. And I find roses to be pretty generic, or I find flowers to be pretty generic, so I don't feel as though I have to put a whole lot of creative effort into that portion. Now, the rocket is, let me zoom back out here. Let me pull this back up so that I can see what I'm doing. The rocket actually I created in Adobe Illustrator, and I used a photograph of the Saturn V rocket. I will do a video on how to use Inkscape and Adobe Illustrator to do basic designs like this, and I also may do one eventually that shows you how to do the same thing on Cricut. The reason I don't recommend doing it on Cricut is because if you ever change machines or change software, you can't take it with you. It's not portable. I believe Silhouette Professional version lets you create your design, download the SVG, and save it. So that might be a better option for you. I have never tried it, although I do plan to. I've been trying to get Silhouette to send me a demo machine. I don't know if they will, but maybe if they see, that I'm considered an influencer. No, that's a little bit, big-headed of me, but I would love to try a Silhouette machine, and I'm hoping that they eventually send me one to try. These right here are parts of the rocket. And if you notice, everything is geometric. It's like this is a long, these are just rectangles. These are just triangles. This is a triangle. So everything is very easy to create using basic shapes. There are some areas where you have to kind of use geometry to kind of plan out, oh, if I use a triangle, can I cut into this rectangle at the right angle? That sort of thing. And I'm going to show you an example of that with this right here. So this is a part of the rocket down here. And I had to kind of, do some extra cuts to get the angles right. And it didn't really cut very good on the Cricut because my blade was dull last night. So I'll probably just clean this up before I use it. So anyways, the basic shapes of the rocket, it's like you just make, and that one didn't cut very well either. You just make shapes. This is just a square, or like a rectangle, and then you can get little things like this. I don't know where this goes exactly. I think this goes here, and then I think that these, well, it might actually go down here. Anyways, that's how I did it. You just make rectangles, squares, and triangles, and then you end up with a design that approximates the actual item itself. These are just rectangles that are joined together, for example. So just things like this. And that is how I made it. And this Cricut printed these words out for me, United States, USA. And I always try to match the font. I have actually I don't know. I'll leave that for future videos. I will leave that for future videos. So once I get, I'm not going to bother working on this right now. So just a little bit more here. So how I will actually, the process behind this will first be I outline the letters. And then once the letters are outlined, I'll go in and I'm going to start, I have the hiccups, assembling the parts to this, and I'll have to use a reference photo because last night I actually created a whole new one and I did it in the wrong order. This right here is, let me move this forward. I always try to simulate a mat. So on a big piece of 11 by 14 cardstock, or 24 by 12 by 24 cardstock, I cut out a template of a mat, and it protects the edges of the workspace, and it also gives me the white space that you need between the artwork and the frame. If you aren't going to have a mat, you need white space, and it's just an artistic visual necessity. It looks awful when you have artwork and it goes, especially raised artwork that is that is lifted up, that goes right up against the frame, because when you're looking at it from different angles, it cuts it off and it looks like it's crowded. So I always like to leave white space. I have left 1 inch of white space around this entire piece, and that's because the quilling paper that I'm using for this is 3/8 of an inch tall, and I just don't want it to get lost, and I don't want it to look crappy. Just for some more information here for those interested, I am using, this is a 3/8 inch extremely heavy, I'm going to guess 300 GSM at least, cardstock that I got from Little Circles. She will cut you 3/8 inch paper or cardstock if she has that particular color in stock. You just might have to wait an extra week or two for it. So I try to order in bulk, and I actually have to get an order in pretty soon. All right, let me bring back the old monogram so I can show you the rose process. So the rose process for this, you start off and you just make a loose coil for the center. But you use a full piece of paper. And I like to cut mine so that it's wavy, so it's not a straight piece of paper. And that gives dimension to this, because roses are the petals undulate, they're up and down, up and down. So I go in and I cut like a little wave pattern into my strips. And when I do flowers like this, I'm not saying I've done a whole lot, because I honestly have not. I always double my strips. I double them because it gives extra thickness to these petals. Now, if I was using a thicker cardstock, I may not do that. So I might just go with something like this. And then it gives me double the amount of petal rings. So I'm not having to go in and add all those because they're already there, because I fold the paper in two. And you see how the center is still nice and tight, and that is how I would begin a new flower or a new rose. In this case, I would take it here, and do you see how the center is kind of approximated in this area? That is just a guideline, and all I would do is just set this here like that. I would probably glue it off like this. I can go ahead and do that just as an example. I have all these handy dandy little cards that I used to send out with my artwork, with my old logo. I have to get new ones. Let's go ahead and glop on some glue there. And let's see here. You would glue this off like this. There we go. Just let it dry. You can give it a pinch with make sure the bottoms are lined up though. I'm being messy about this. Really messy about this. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm not doing a very good job. I'm not entirely certain why I am just failing at this today. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of just glue it off lopsided like that. It doesn't matter, because we don't want it to be consistent. And then I just set it down like that. Oh, look at that stupid thing that popped out. Be good. Stay. Stay. I would daub it in the glue. I'm not going to do it right now. And then you pop it in there in the center. And then what you do is you're going to come in with additional doubled strips of already, wave cut paper. And then you follow these, like you're going to place one that starts here and goes around to there. And then you're going to get one that connects here to there. And then you're going to get one that comes out way out to here. And then you just keep building on that pattern, and you can leave as much or as little of this empty white space as you want. Let me zoom in here. So on my original flowers, this one right here is the least dense one. I have fairly big sections here that I left open. This one, as you can see, is extremely dense, very filled in. And the white one has even more open space in there, and I prefer the open space. So I'm actually glad that I'm getting a chance to redo this, because I'm going to I'm going to leave these sections right here more open. So that is what the plan is. And I'm actually going to film the entire process. I need to hear from you guys whether you want it just silent or whether you want background music. I suppose what I could do is just put background music on and call it good, and then you guys can mute it or not. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video for now and pop it up on as a teaser, and then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to probably work the rest of the afternoon on this. I'm going to film the entire thing, and as I get the components done, I'm going to add it to a Patreon post that will hold all of the pieces eventually at some point, probably by the end of the weekend. All right, thanks for stopping by and watching, and I really appreciate all of my new patrons. It's allowing me to create art. It's allowing me to have a new direction with my art studio, and hopefully, get a really good base of people going here. A good group is what I'm hoping for. Thank you so much.